Maison Ikkoku is a manga and anime series originally released from 1980 until 1987, revolving around an eccentric group of people who live in a boarding house in 1980s Tokyo. One of these residents is Yusaku Godai, a down-on-his-luck college applicant who, through his good nature and timidness, is constantly taken advantage of by his more rowdy neighbors. When he finally decides to move out, he is stopped by the door by Kyoko Otonashi, who announces she will take over the boarding house and become his new landlady. Immediately infatuated, Godai decides to stay, and a series of romantic misunderstandings ensues. Both the anime and the manga were praised for both its comedy and understated romance, and it is often cited as Takahashi's best work. It is also my partner's favorite anime, and after almost 5 years together, I have never seen it. So when my partner requested that I make him a sweater that looks like the main character's sweater, specifically this yellow sweater, I felt it was a sign that I finally have to give this show its proper attention. For this project, I am using the Hobbii Friends yarn in the color Mustard, as well as a size 4.5mm needles. I am basing my pattern on the Anthony sweater by Berocco, but I will be substituted the rolled collar with a double-folded collar to imitate Godai's sweater better. I will also be making some minor alterations in the length and arm size for a better fit. That out of the way, I am all set to start watching. There are a total of 96 episodes, each around 25 minutes, as well as 3 OVAs, a music episode, and a live-action movie. While I do hope to finish the sweater with just the original episodes, it does feel reassuring that there is some extra content I can watch in case I run short on time. Okay, so it's been a few days since I have finished the back of the sweater. It just took me a while to start filming, but here it is. It is curling a lot, but as it will be seamed, that should not be a problem. And I do have the top stitches on hold currently, so it's also still attached to some yarn to hopefully use for the collar, simply so I have less ends to weave in. So far, I am pretty excited about it. I like the color. I think the stretch is pretty good. It is a budget yarn, which is something I knew beforehand because I have used the Friends wool before. However, it should be all right with just a t-shirt underneath. As for Maison Ikkoku, I am currently on episode 33, and I am really simply enjoying every second of it. It is a very calming show. There's a lot of music, a lot of scenery shots of 1980s Tokyo, and it just really feels like a cozy and comforting watch. Nothing too exciting happens, if that makes sense. You're just watching people live their life and trying to deal with relationships, both romantic and friendly, and the dynamics of living together with people who are very different from you. But it's all kind of resolved in a way, and everyone still kind of loves each other, even though they all annoy each other in their own way. I do have 2 problems with the show, and that is that I feel sorry for 2 very particular characters. The first character is Kozue, who is Godai's somewhat girlfriend. It is kind of shown as a misunderstanding on Kozue's side that Godai likes her, but he also never comes out and says, hey, I don't want to be with you. So she thinks that they're dating. He isn't really sure about it. And I just feel like she is being set up for a lot of disappointment in life, in their relationship. And I just feel sad because she is so sweet. She's really happy. And I think that Godai can be more gentle to her and let her live her life if he just owns it up. And I don't really appreciate him trying to 2-time 2 girls, even though he doesn't really mean to. That's just a big bummer for me. And I hope that Kozue gets let down gently eventually, or that she finds someone else. The second person I feel really bad for, and this is a bit more of a serious topic, I suppose, is Kentaro. Kentaro is this 6 or 7-year-old boy who also lives in Maison Ikkoku with his parents. However, his mom is always shown drinking and being drunk. And Kentaro very obviously struggles with that. He's often seen trying to hold back his mom and telling her to stop drinking so much, and she's just not listening to him. And I feel so sad for him because it's obviously not a healthy way to live life. And having to care for your parents like that is just really heartbreaking. And especially with it being such a small side plot, it just shows a lot of reality that the rest of the show doesn't really show. So I'm, on the one hand, happy that they're showing that side, but at the same time, I just want someone to take care of Kantaro. Okay, hi. Progress update time. I have finished the top of the sweater. That is the back. This is the front. I have finished the front of the sweater, and it is looking pretty shapeless right now. But when I sew the ends together, I'm sure it's going to look a little bit better. It is taking me a very long time, much longer than I was expecting to. Mainly because of the size. I always kind of forget that male bodies, they just tend to be a bit of a slower knit for me. They need to be longer. When I knit something for myself, I usually make things cropped, and I obviously can't do that right now. And it also just needs to be a whole lot roomier because my partner wanted it pretty roomy fit. So yeah, it takes a long time. Usually, I watch about 3 or 4 episodes of the anime in an evening, and in those episodes, I can knit about an inch or an inch and a half, which, considering the body was, I think, 18 or 16 inches before the sleeve or the armhole decreases, that felt like it was taking forever. Once I got to the armholes, it made it a little bit easier because I could focus on the decreases. And after that, it was not so much space until I bound up the stitches for the neckline and then only had to do the little side pieces. What I want to do next is just kind of sew the shoulder pieces together while I chat about what I think of the anime so far. I also have the second piece with me as well as my needles. So what am I thinking so far? I'm still really loving it. It's still very calming, very slice of life. Nothing too outrageous happens in every episode, but it is still very much progressing, so that's good. I do have to say that these previous episodes have been my least favorite arcs. There's pretty much 2 arcs that I've watched in these 30 episodes. The first one being when Godai gets a part-time job at a high school. At least I hope it's a high school, because if it's not a high school, I think it's ranging towards inappropriate. And essentially what happens is that one of the girls in the class that he is tutoring falls in love with him. Pretty much love at first sight. The whole class thinks he's a little bit stupid, he's nervous, and she sticks up for him. And then she pretty much falls in love with him immediately. And while that's okay, she is very aggressive about her affections. and she really tries to lay it on thick that she wants to be with him, that he should like her as well, and even goes as far as kind of stalking him to Maison Ikkoku and kind of barges into the house. And that's kind of where I think the inappropriateness starts, because no one is really stopping her from doing it. Godai does mention that he doesn't want her to be in love with him, but then he doesn't really do anything actively to stop her doing so. And eventually Kyoko needs to step in and tell her that what she's doing is not okay. And there's kind of a parallel drawn between this girl and Godai and Kyoko and her late husband, who was also her teacher in high school. And I don't know, the whole thing is kind of frustrating. The girl itself is really quite annoying. She doesn't listen to anyone, and she thinks that whatever she feels is important, which is definitely part of the high school experience. But looking at it from the outside, I feel like it's just a little bit icky. I don't think anything really inappropriate happens, but I also don't really like to watch it. She also comes back after 20 episodes or something, and I was like, just seeing her again, I was like, girl, please just stay away. We don't need to see you. So that's the first part of what I found frustrating. The other arc that's going on kind of simultaneously with this one is that Mitaka, the love rival, gets a date with another girl. He's basically being set up by his uncle, who wants their families to merge so that they can get more money. And the girl is pretty much okay with it. She seems pretty sure that Mitaka is going to be the one that she wants to marry. Mitaka kind of treats her as a stand-in for Kyoko. He kind of disregards her as anything but the girl that my uncle wants that I marry. And on top of that, she has a lot of dogs. When I say a lot, I think she has 9 or 10 dogs that we see on screen. They're always kind of in a horde, all different sizes, all different breeds. And Mitaka doesn't like dogs. He's afraid of dogs. This whole arc kind of boils down to look at this rich girl with a bunch of dogs who's so unrealistic, and poor Mitaka that he has to pull up with this, even though that he's deadly afraid of dogs, right? And I just don't think that's a very nice thing. He also doesn't really go out and say, I don't want to be with you until way later. And I think it's just a frustrating thing to watch, especially because Kyoko also has a dog, and he has the same reaction to her dog. So it's like you have 2 girls, one of whom wants to marry you, and you want to marry the other one, but they both have the same issue. They have a dog. So what are you going to do about that? Where I am right now in the show, he does buy a dog himself, or he gets a dog from somewhere that he's basically training himself into liking in his apartment. But it's been weeks and he still has this dog, and it's like, why? I don't know. I just don't like Mitaka that much. I don't really understand why he's still here in the story. We've already established that Godai and Kyoko very much do like each other. So him being there and still vying for Kyoko's attention, it doesn't really make sense to me in that sense. So yeah, that's just a bit of a bummer. I'm still really enjoying the rest. My frustrations with the other residents still stand. There's still a lot of drinking. Kentaro, the little boy, is still getting frustrated with his mom a lot, but I do think he's also growing up a little, so maybe he's a bit better at managing himself. But yeah, I'm interested to see where the rest of the story goes. We've had some pretty big plot points in Godai and Kyoko's love blossoming, I suppose. But every time something good happens, something bad follows right after, so they always kind of end up in the same place. exciting news. I am finished with the sweater. It is looking so much bigger on camera than it is in real life, but I promise you it's just a size L for men's. I always forget how much longer and wider a men's sweater needs to be as opposed to my own sweaters, because everything I wear is cropped and I just assume that that's going to be the same, which it most definitely is not. But overall, I'm very happy with it. I'm happy with the neckline. The original pattern that I used just did a knit neck that kind of rolled over, and I don't really like that look. My partner also didn't really want that, so I just did a basic 2x2 ribbing to match the bottom and the sleeves. So I'm very happy with that. As for the show, I did run out of episodes to watch. I got to about here on the second sleeve, so it was knit from the cuff upward, so I did about that much. And then just when I started the decreases for the sleeve or armhole cap, sleeve cap, I think the name is, sleeve cap, I ran out of episodes. And considering there were 96 of them, that was quite unfortunate. So I started watching the movie. And I do have to say, I do not recommend watching the movie. If you're going to watch anything, just stick to the original 96 episodes and forget that anything else exists. The movie was made before the anime and the manga was completed, so they kind of had to guess, I suppose, or they used their creative license to make it. And I cannot say that I was a fan of it. It was really quite crude. However, if you want to give it a go, it is on YouTube, so you can just check it out. As for the anime, personally, I think I lost my interest about around episode 76. Not because the whole overarching story wasn't interested anymore. I did want to know how it ended. I wanted to know how Kyoko and Godai got together. But the supporting characters and the kind of mini plot lines were really starting to get on my nerve. I just thought it was a little bit too much, especially because after about 45 episodes, you kind of start to realize like Mitaka is not really a threat in this whole story. Kyoko very much is only interested in Godai, and Mitaka is just kind of there pursuing nothing. It just kind of made it a little bit boring, and it kind of made me feel like just get on with it. They're both going around each other, not really making a connection or making that first step, and that was quite frustrating to me. But it is still a very cute show. I really love all the fashion in it. I think had it been up to me, I probably would not have chosen this particular sweater because I think Godai wears a lot more interesting sweaters than this one. But this one is what my partner wanted, and that's all that matters. I know it's just a very simple stockinette sweater that apparently needed its own whole episode, but I'm still very happy to have made it, and I think it's a very nice process to watch one particular piece of media while you're working on something. And yeah, I hope that when he wears it, he will also think about the show itself, because he did watch most of the stuff with me. So yeah, that's all I have. I hope you have a good day and see you soon.